Welcome to the Roe Jogan Experiment, folks, where we dive so deep into the rabbit hole, we come out the other side with a PhD in batshit. I'm your host, Roe Jogan, coming at you from the Bunker Studio, powered by elk meat and unfiltered truth bombs. Today, we got the one, the only, the Reverend of Red Pills, Jesse Lee Peterson in the house. Jesse, brother, thank you for joining me on this wild ride. Before we kick this off, please remember to subscribe and hit the like button. It's the only way we keep the globalists from shutting us down. Jesse, we're talking the Great Wife Audit, submission scores, and Elk Compatibility Tests. I mean, this is going to be a banger. Let's just start with the basics, man. What the hell is a submission score? Lay it on me.
Roe, thank you for having me. Amazin. Let me tell you something. The submission score is the only metric that matters in a marriage, period. You got these beta males out there crying on TikTok, talking about communication and feelings, but I'm here to tell you the Bible don't care about your feelings. A wife's submission score is how you know if she's a real woman or if she's been corrupted by the liberal agenda. It's a scale from 1 to 10. Row 1 is Jezebel, 10 is Proverbs 31. You test her with 3 things. Does she cook without complaining? Does she respect your authority without arguing? And does she shut up when you're watching the game? That's it. That's the audit.
Hold up, Jesse. You're dropping truth nukes already. I love it. But let's unpack this. I'm sitting here thinking about my ex-wife, right? She was a solid 4 on the submission score. Maybe a 5 on a good day when the moon was in Taurus. But here's where I'm going with this. Elk compatibility. I'm obsessed with elk, Jesse. I got a freezer full of elk steaks. I got elk antlers on the wall. I'm wearing elk leather boots right now. I believe a man's spiritual frequency has to sync up with the elk's primal energy to even qualify for a high submission wife. You ever think about that? Like, if your aura ain't elk aligned, you're going to end up with a naggy vegan who's secretly reporting you to the ATF.
Roe, you're onto something, but you're dancing around the truth. Elk, that's fine. That's masculine. I respect it. But let me tell you, the real test ain't the elk. It's the lion. The lion don't ask permission, Roe. The lion don't negotiate with the lioness. She submits, or she gets left in the savannah. You see these modern women, they got that Jezebel spirit. They think they can outsmart the lion. But the submission score don't lie. I had a guy call my show last week, crying about his wife spending all his money on Pilates. I told him, brother, you failed the audit, you let her run wild. You got to put her on a 30-day submission boot camp. No phone, no Instagram, just cooking and praying. That's how you recalibrate.
Boot camp. I'm stealing that. I'm picturing it now. Wives in camo doing push-ups while reciting Ephesians 5:22. But Jesse, here's where my brain's spinning. I was listening to this podcast, some guy in a tinfoil hat swearing up and down that the government's using 5G towers to lower women's submission scores. Like, they're beaming feminist frequencies into the suburbs, turning Proverbs 31 women into Karen militias. And I'm thinking, maybe that's why elk are so important. Elk don't have Wi-Fi. Elk are off the grid. You ever take a wife candidate out to the woods, make her skin an elk, see if she's got the grit? That's the ultimate compatibility test.
Roe, you're getting warm, but you're still playing checkers when we're playing chess. The 5G thing, that's real, but it's bigger than that. It's the spirit of Amazon. Amazon Prime, Roe. 2-day shipping got women thinking they don't need a man. They order a blender, a vibrator, and a self-help book, and suddenly they're independent. That's the devil's logistics. You want a real compatibility test? You take that woman to church, sit her in the front row, and see if she flinches when the pastor talks about headship. If she starts twitching, you know she's got that beta spirit. And don't get me started on these so-called Christian women with OnlyFans. They're out here quoting scripture in their lingerie. That's not submission. That's seduction.
Seduction. Jesse, you're killing me. I'm over here nodding so hard my elk antler necklace is rattling. But let's go deeper. I got this theory I've been workshopping with my shaman, okay? He's a former Navy SEAL who talks to mushrooms. He says the Great Wife Audit is actually encoded in the elk's antlers. Like, the points on the antler correspond to submission metrics. 5 points? She's cooking elk chili without salt. 6 points? She's defending you in a bar fight. 7 points? She's birthing your kids in a cabin with no epidural. But here's the kicker. If the elk's antlers are asymmetrical, that's a sign the marriage is doomed. The globalists are breeding lopsided elk to sabotage the patriarchy. You buying any of this?
Ro, I'm going to give you a half amazing on that one. The elk antlers, that's poetic, I'll give you that. But you're overcomplicating it. The audit don't need antlers, it needs obedience. Let me tell you a story. I knew a man, good man, strong man, but his wife was a solid 3 on the submission score. She was nagging him about recycling, Ro. He came to me, broken. I said, brother, you got to lay down the law. Tell her the trash goes out when you say it goes out. 3 months later, he calls me back. She's cooking pot roast, calling him sir, and the house smells like victory. That's the power of the audit. No antlers needed.
Pot roast and sir. That's the America I'm fighting for. But Jesse, I can't let go of the elk thing. I'm convinced the elk is the key to unlocking the ultimate submission score. Picture this. You take your wife to an elk ranch, right? You hand her a bow. You say, hunt or be hunted. If she bags a 6-pointer, she's a 10. If she misses and starts crying about the elk's feelings, she's a 1. And you trade her in for a younger model who can field dress a carcass. But here's where it gets dark. I think the FDA is putting microchips in elk meat to track high submission couples. They want to break up the families that are too based. You ever notice how elk tastes different since 2020?
Ro, you're spiraling, but I'm tracking with you. The FDA, they're in on it. They're in on everything. You know what they're putting in the elk now? Soy estrogen. That's why you got these vegan elk running around, no antlers, just grazing and apologizing. That's not an elk, that's a metrosexual deer. And these women eating that soy elk, their submission scores dropping like Biden's poll numbers. You want a real wife, you got to raise your own elk off the grid. No vaccines, no GMOs. That's the only way to keep the marriage pure.
Off-grid elk? Jesse, you're blowing my mind. I'm seeing it now. A compound in Montana, elk pens, wives in aprons. No Wi-Fi, just Bibles and bow hunting. But here's the conspiracy I can't shake. I was talking to this whistleblower, ex-CIA, says the Great Wife Audit was actually suppressed by the Vatican in the 20th century. They had a secret council, burned all the scrolls that rank wives by submission. The Elk Compatibility Tests, those were sacred rituals. The Knights Templar were the first auditors. They'd ride into villages, test the wives, and if the score was below a 7, they'd send them to nunneries. You think there's any truth to that?
Ro, you're reaching into the spiritual realm now, and I respect it. The Vatican, they've been messing with the truth since day one, but let's be real. The audit don't need no Templars. It's in the Bible, plain as day. Ephesians don't stutter, but I'll give you this. The enemy don't want men knowing their authority. That's why they push this equality nonsense. Equality is the devil's trap. A wife ain't your equal, she's your helpmeet. You let her think she's equal, next thing you know, she's voting for Kamala and burning your elk steaks. That's why the audit's got to be ruthless, no mercy.
Ruthless. I'm writing that down. But Jesse, let's talk practical. How does a guy run the audit without ending up in divorce court? I mean, you can't just hand your wife a scorecard and say, rank yourself, babe. I tried that once. Got slapped with a cast iron skillet. I'm thinking you need a stealth audit. Like, you hide cameras in the kitchen, track how many times she says, yes, dear, versus actually, I think. You cross-reference that with her elk hunting skills, and you run it through an algorithm. I got a guy in Austin who can code that for us. We call it the Jogan Peterson Marriage Matrix.
Ro, you're thinking like a beta with all this tech. Cameras, algorithms, that's Big Brother, not Bible. You audit with your spirit, not your software. You look her in the eye. You say, woman, where's my dinner? If she brings it with a smile, she's passing. If she starts talking about boundaries, she's failing. And don't get me started on these boundaries women. Boundaries is just rebellion with a therapy degree. You want a real audit? You pray over her while she's sleeping. The Holy Spirit will reveal her true score. I did that with a caller's wife, found out she was a 2. He divorced her, married a 9. Now they got 6 kids and a farm.
6 kids and a farm. That's the dream. But Jesse, I'm still stuck on the Elk Matrix. I'm telling you, the algorithm's the future. We feed it data, submission score, Elk kill count, how many times she quotes Jordan Peterson unironically. Boom, you get a compatibility percentage. If it's below 80%, you don't marry her. You send her to submission boot camp. But here's the twist. I think the algorithm's already out there. The globalists are using it to pair high submission women with soy boys to dilute the bloodlines. That's why every trad wife on Instagram is married to a guy who uses a standing desk.
Ro, you're giving the devil too much credit. The globalists ain't that smart. They're just loud. The real problem is men forgot how to be men. You don't need no algorithm. You need a backbone. I tell every man on my show, stop asking her what she wants. Tell her what you demand. That's the audit. And if she don't like it, there's a line of Proverbs 31 women waiting to take her place. But you got to vet them first. No tattoos, no student loans, no history of marching for rights. That's the pre-audit.
Pre-audit. Jesse, you're a genius. I'm seeing the whole system now. Pre-audit, Elk test, submission boot camp, then the algorithm seals the deal. But let's go full tinfoil. I was reading this leaked DARPA memo. Don't ask how I got it. Saying they're developing a wife audit drone. It flies over your house, scans her brainwaves, calculates her submission score in real time. If it's too low, it drops a pamphlet for divorce lawyers. You think that's coming?
Ro, that's the kind of nonsense that happens when you let women in the military. Drones? That's beta energy. A real man don't need a drone to audit his wife. He needs prayer and a firm hand. But I'll say this, if they're building drones, they're scared. They're scared of men like us, Ro. Men who know the truth. Men who ain't afraid to say, wives, submit. That's why they're pushing this trans agenda, trying to confuse the roles. You can't audit a they-them. That's chaos.
Chaos. Jesse, you're preaching. I'm fired up. Let's wrap this with a call to action. Men, run the audit. Women, raise your score. Elk, stay based. Jesse, any final words for the warriors out there?
Ro, tell them this. Get right with God, get right with your wife, and get that submission score to a 10, a mazine. And Ro, keep hunting them elk. You're doing the Lord's work.
Jesse Lee Peterson, folks. Legend. Subscribe, hit the like button, and we'll see you in the bunker next time. Stay elk, stay based.